The sun rose slowly over Viridia. A soft golden light touched the tall silver trees and the quiet hills. The first human and Corvallis building stood proudly in the center of the valley. Long towers with curved walls and smooth glass reflected. The new day, a peaceful hum filled the air. It was the sound of power running through the city. Ilara stood on the balcony of the command center. She wore a white coat with the Peace Alliance badge on the sleeve. Her hair blew gently in the wind. She held a tablet in her hand, reading reports from across the colony. It had been 6 months since the first pole was placed. Now there were houses, schools, and even gardens. Miners had stayed and helped build roads. Engineers had designed strong, but gentle machines that shaped the land without hurting it. The Corvallis team built a large learning dome where both species studied together. People came from Earth and Corvallis every week. Some were builders, some were teachers, some were just dreamers who wanted a new life. They all came with hope. Inside the dome, Liara stood at the front of the main hall. She was giving a speech to the first class of young diplomats. Her voice was clear and steady. Her eyes looked bright with purpose. 6 years ago, she said, I made a choice that hurt. Someone I loved. I thought I had won, but I lost myself in the process. Now I stand here not because of what I took, but because of what I gave back. I learned that true power comes not from control, but from kindness. And peace is not just a word. It is work. Daily work, from each one of us. The students listened closely. Some took notes. Some nodded in silence. After the speech, a tall Corvallis elder approached Liara. He wore a long silver robe and walked slowly but with strength. Your words reach across species, he said. You do not speak to only humans. You speak to all. Hearts. Liara smiled politely. Thank you, Elder. You carry the voice of change, he said. Do not stop. Later that evening, the colony gathered in the valley center. A new monument was ready to be revealed. It was a round stone with carvings from both human and Corvallis history. Around it stood children holding small lamps. Ilara walked to the front with Fallon and Liara. This monument, Ilara said, is not for the leaders. It is for the builders. The ones who came with no promise of reward. The ones who stayed through storms and doubt. This is your stone. This is your future. Fallon placed his hand on the stone. Then Liara did the same. One by one, people stepped forward to touch it. It was a moment of unity. A moment of trust. That night, as stars filled the sky, Liara stood alone by the river. The water was calm and clear. She watched her reflection and thought of the past. She remembered her sister's face at the funeral, the shock, the silence. The truth finally spoken. She had not seen her since that day. Suddenly, soft footsteps came from behind. Liara turned. It was Ilara. I thought you might be here, Ilara said gently. I come here to think, Liara replied. This place is quiet. Ilara stepped beside her. Do you ever regret it? Liara looked at the water. I regret how it happened. But I do not regret the lesson. I would not be here without it. Ilara nodded. You changed, Liara. This place exists because you did. There was a pause. Then Ilara handed her a small tablet. This came today. It is from Earth, she said. Liara looked at the screen. It was a message. A short one. Just a few words. I'm proud of you. Maybe someday we can talk. It was signed with a name Liara had not seen in years. She read the message again. Then she smiled. Maybe someday, she whispered. A soft wind passed through the trees. The stars above looked brighter than before. In the distance, the buildings of Viridia glowed with soft light. Laughter and music came from the gardens. The people were not just surviving. They were living. Ilara and Liara walked back together. Behind them, the river flowed on peaceful and strong, just like the future they had built. The stars outside the ship glowed like tiny fires in the dark. For 3 weeks, the journey to Viridia had been quiet but full of work. Inside the ship, lights stayed low, and every person had a task. No one wasted time. Everyone moved with purpose. Alara spent her days in the command room. She checked maps, read progress reports, and sent messages to both Earth and Corvallis. She wanted everything ready before arrival. Viridia was still untouched. No buildings, no roads, just soft blue ground and tall silver trees that swayed in. The wind, a moon full of promise. Thalon worked with the engineers. He helped program the machines that would build the first structures. His voice brought calm during high-pressure tasks. His presence alone gave others strength. Leora worked longer hours than anyone. She asked questions, read every file, and stayed late in the planning room. Her job was to handle trade and communication, but she also helped with medical supply. Lists, landing protocols, and learning the alien language spoken by the nearby settlers of the Drail race. Her hands were always busy, but her heart stayed focused. One day, as the ship neared Viridia's orbit, a red light flashed on the control screen. A message came from a small scout ship orbiting the moon. Alara opened it quickly. Unidentified vessels seen near Viridia's North Pole. Movement suggests survey behavior. They have not responded to signals. Thalon stepped closer. Are they hostile? Too early to say. Alara replied. They contacted the Peace Cloud. No new missions had been approved in that sector. That meant someone else had found Viridia. Someone who had not come to build peace. Alara called for a meeting in the main room. The crew gathered around the large round table. The map of Viridia floated in the air above them. We have company. Alara began. Unknown ships. We do not know their goals, but we must act carefully. We cannot risk conflict. The crew listened in silence. Thalon spoke next. We will send a drone to observe. We do not engage. We watch, we learn. Leora raised her hand. May I suggest something? Alara nodded. We should also prepare a greeting signal in their language, Leora said. If they are peaceful, they may respond. If not, at least we show our intent, Alara agreed. Do it. For the next 12 hours, the team worked nonstop. Drones flew ahead. Scanners tracked every move of the unknown ships. Leora built a language package using old records. She stayed awake all night, adjusting sound patterns and signal strength. At sunrise on Viridia, the drones sent back images. The ships were small, old, and worn. They did not carry weapons, but they had strong scanners and large cargo holds. Thalon leaned closer. They are not warriors. They are miners. Alara narrowed her eyes. Then they came for resources. The team held another meeting. This time the tone was heavier. Viridia was unclaimed. Legally, anyone could try to take it. But if miners stripped the land before the peace project began, years of planning would be wasted. We must speak with them, Alara said, before they do damage. Thalon nodded. We go together. Alara looked at Leora. Will you come? Leora blinked. Me? You made the greeting signal. You speak their trade language. You should be there. Leora took a breath. Then I will go. The three of them boarded a small ship and flew toward the miners' base. The silver trees of Viridia waved below. The sky was bright and clear. When they landed near the camp, dust blew across the ground. The camp was made of metal tents and supply crates. The ships nearby were humming with power. 5 miners came out to meet them. Their leader was a short, rough-faced woman with metal gloves and tired eyes. Her name was Captain Vera. Alara stepped forward. We are from the United Peace Alliance. We are here to speak. Captain Vera crossed her arms. This land was empty. We found it. We mine it. Alara stayed calm. This land was marked for shared development. Human and Corvallis, peace-based, not private use. Vera frowned. We followed the rules. No flag, no fence. That means open. Leora stepped forward. We understand your position. But this moon is not just land. It is part of a future plan. One that includes balance, not just profit. Vera looked at her. Who are you? Leora met her gaze. I used to take what I wanted. But now I help build instead. We are not here to fight. We are here to offer a seat at the table. Help us build this place. Share it, don't break it. Vera was silent for a long time. Then she spoke. Let me speak to my crew. The team waited. An hour passed. Then 2. Finally, Vera returned. We will stay for now. We will not mine until talks are done. You have 7 days. Ilara nodded. We will honor that time. Back on their ship, Ilara turned to Leora. You spoke well, she said. Leora looked surprised. I only said what I believed. That is what made it strong, Fallon said. For the next 7 days, talks began. Vera joined meetings. Plans were drawn. Resource sharing was discussed. Rules were agreed upon. Leora helped lead every talk. By the end of the week, a deal was made. The miners would be part of the building team. No early mining. No damage to the land. All work would be shared and watched by both sides. Viridia was saved. Ilara stood on the soft ground as the first structure was placed. It was a tall silver pole with a glowing light on top. A symbol of peace. Beside her, Fallon and Leora watched. Did it, Fallon said. We did it, Ilara replied. Leora smiled. And this time, we all won something. The summit aboard the Peace Cloud continued for 3 full days. Delegates from 15 different planets and colonies sat together at long white tables. Large glass windows showed the Earth spinning slowly below. The station stayed calm, floating. High above everything Ilara had once called home, Ilara moved through the meetings with quiet power. She answered questions, settled arguments, and brought clear solutions to every problem. The alien leaders respected her. The human officials listened carefully when she spoke. She never raised her voice, but every word she said carried weight. Thalen stayed nearby, guiding conversations when needed. He spoke in multiple languages and used gestures that showed respect across cultures. His presence alone helped keep the peace. Liora watched all of it. She took notes, stood beside Ilara when asked, and helped carry data pads from one room to another. For once in her life, she did not chase attention. She observed. She listened. She learned. On the second night, Ilara invited a few key leaders to a private dinner on the upper deck. It was a quiet space with soft lights and a clear view of the stars. A few trusted diplomats and scientists joined them. Fallon stood near the window, watching the stars with thoughtful eyes. Ilara turned to Leora. Would you like to help present the Earth proposal? Leora looked up in surprise. Are you sure? You have seen enough, Ilara said. You know what this is about. Leora stood slowly. She picked up the data pad and walked to the center of the table. Her voice was clear, but not too loud. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I am here to present a new plan for cooperation between the outer colonies and Earth. We call it Project Haven. It offers shared research, open trade routes, and peace training for future generations. The alien guests nodded as she continued. Some asked polite questions. Leora answered calmly. When she finished, they clapped softly in approval. Ilara gave her a small nod. It was not praise. It was recognition. After the dinner, Leora stood by the large glass window. She looked at Earth far below. Its blue oceans and white clouds looked peaceful from space. I never imagined this, she said quietly. When I took everything from you, I thought I had won, but now I see I knew nothing. Ilara stood beside her. You can still learn. That is the choice in front of you now. Leora turned to her. Do you think I can really change? Ilara looked at her for a moment. That depends on what you do next. The next morning, the final part of the summit began. All major leaders were present. News channels from different planets broadcast the event. Everyone waited to hear the closing speech. Alara stood on the main platform. Her voice was calm and steady. We are not perfect. We make mistakes. But humans have something powerful. We learn. We grow. We reach out to others even after pain. That is why we are here today. She looked around the room, meeting every gaze. Let this summit be the start of something greater than trade or politics. Let it be the start of trust. The crowd clapped. The sound filled the hall like soft thunder. Later that day, a surprise came. The Corvallis High Council sent a private message. They had selected Thalon and Alara to lead a new project. A moon on the edge of the known galaxy had been chosen for shared development between humans and Corvallis people. It needed leadership, planning, and diplomacy. Elara read the message and turned to Thalon. This is big. We would be starting from the ground again. He smiled slightly. That has never stopped you before. She looked at Leora. They want someone to assist us. Someone who can handle trade and communication with Earth. Leora blinked. Me, you showed effort, Ilara said. You listened, you worked. If you are ready, this can be your path. Leora felt her chest tighten. It was not forgiveness. It was a chance. That meant more. I accept, she said, her voice shaking slightly. The next days were filled with preparation. Plans were made. Documents signed. The new moon, named Viridia, had strong natural resources and quiet beauty. It would take time to make it ready for settlers, but it had potential. Ela, Thalon, and Leora boarded the long-range ship together. It was a large vessel with living quarters, labs, and command rooms. The journey would take 3 weeks. As the ship moved into deep space, Leora sat at her desk. She worked on reports and studied alien culture files. She did not complain. She did not slow down. One evening, she stood outside the observation deck. Thalon joined her. You have changed, he said. I am trying, she replied. He looked at her and nodded. Effort matters, growth takes time. But I see a new path in you. Leora looked out at the stars. I spent years chasing the wrong things. Now I want to build something real. Ilara walked in quietly and joined them. You are already building, she said. Just make sure the foundation is strong. Together, they looked at the stars. Ahead, Viridia waited. A new beginning. A fresh chapter. And in that silence, there was hope. Not loud or shining, but steady and clear. The next morning, Ilara walked through the quiet streets of Neo-Chicago. The sun was rising, casting a soft light over the tall buildings and sky lanes. Few people were outside. The city that once felt loud and sharp now seemed peaceful, almost distant. She wore a long coat and a scarf around her neck. She did not wear her usual diplomatic badge or symbols. For once, she wanted to walk as a daughter, not a leader. Beside her, Thalon walked silently. His steps were light, and his eyes moved across every street corner. Always aware, they stopped at the old garden near Lydia Vance's apartment block. The garden was small, with broken benches and a few fading flowers. But it was a place full of memories. Ilara sat on a bench and looked at the tree where she and Leora used to climb as children. She remembered how they laughed and played, how they shared snacks and secrets. That was before the competition began. Before trust was broken. She used to bring us here after school, Ilara said quietly. She would sit right there and read her book while we ran through the garden. Thalon nodded. She gave you safety, even when the world was not kind. Ilara leaned back. Yes, she was gentle, always forgiving. I used to think it made her weak, but now I see it gave her strength. Suddenly, a soft voice came from behind them. I thought I might find you here. Ilara turned. Leora stood near the garden gate. She wore simple clothes this time. No makeup, no jewels. Just a long sweater and tired eyes. I didn't want to come, but I remembered this was your quiet place, Leora said. Alara gave a nod but said nothing. Leora walked forward and sat on the bench across from them. Fallon stayed beside Alara, watching carefully. I couldn't sleep, Leora began. Last night, I kept thinking about how things could have been different, about all the choices we made. Alara looked at her sister. We all made choices. We all live with them, Leora sighed. I thought I won when I got Kellen. I thought I proved something, but I lost more than I knew. I didn't understand it until I saw you walk into that room with him. With Fallon, Alara stayed calm. You saw the result, not the journey. I know, Leora whispered, and that's why I came. I wanted to ask you something. Alara raised an eyebrow. What is it? There's a summit next week. Leora said, a space diplomacy event. I heard you are hosting it. Delegates from all over will be there. Alara nodded slowly. Yes, it's being held aboard the Peace Cloud, orbiting Earth. It's a major step for human and alien cooperation. I want to attend, Leora said, not as a guest. As someone who wants to help. Alara blinked. Why? Because I want to start again, Leora said. I know I can't undo what I did. I know I can't fix everything. But I want to be part of something greater. I want to prove I can grow too. Alara studied her sister's face. For the first time, she saw no pride, no mask. Just honesty. Fallon looked at Alara. He gave a slight nod. The choice was hers. I'll think about it, Alara said. But you must understand, the summit is not for show. It is serious work, no tricks, no shortcuts. I understand, Leora said. If you let me come, I'll do the work. I'll earn it. Alara stood. Fallon rose beside her. We leave tomorrow morning for the Peace Cloud. If you're serious, meet me at Dock 11 by sunrise. Leora nodded quickly. I will be there. That night, Alara sat by the window of her suite. Fallon brought her a warm cup of tea and placed it beside her. She looked out at the stars and thought about the past. Forgiveness was not easy. Trust could not be rebuilt in one day. But growth could begin with one step. She may change. Fallon said. She may not, Alara replied. But you offered her a path, he said. That is what your mother would have done. Alara smiled softly. Then I hope she walks it with care. The next morning, as the sky turned pink, Alara and Fallon arrived at Dock 11. A silver ship waited there, ready to take them to orbit. As they walked toward the ramp, they heard footsteps behind them. Leora was running, holding a small bag in her hand. Her face was flushed, and her breath came fast. I'm here, she said. Alara looked at her. She said nothing but stepped aside. Leora followed them onto the ship. The launch was smooth. The ship rose through Earth's clouds and broke into space. The Peace Cloud, a large diplomatic station, came into view. It spun slowly, its white panels glowing under the sun. Inside, the halls were filled with color and sound. Alien species walked beside humans. Some had feathers, others scales. Some floated in the air. All of them were gathered to build peace. Alara moved through the station with grace. People greeted her with bows and smiles. Fallon walked beside her, offering quiet support. Leora followed, eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen anything like this. Her voice was low as she asked questions. Alara answered them with care. A delegate from the Luthari species approached. He had 4 arms and a soft voice. Alara Fallon, he said. We are honored by your presence. The honor is mine, Alara replied. May peace grow between us. The Luthari bowed. Then his eyes moved to Leora. This is my sister, Alara said. She is here to learn. The Luthari nodded. Learning is the first step to wisdom, Leora bowed deeply. Thank you. I hope to earn that wisdom. The summit began. Ilara spoke with strength and clarity. She guided talks, solved problems, and helped bridge old differences. Leora took notes, listened, and followed instructions. For the first time in her life, Leora did not try to stand in front. She walked behind, watching her sister shine not with pride, but with purpose. And in that light, she began to understand what true strength looked like. The sky over Neo-Chicago was cloudy the day after the funeral. Tall buildings stood silent. Cars flew between towers, but the streets below were quiet. Ilara and Fallon stayed in a private suite provided by Earth's diplomatic branch. They had been offered security and service, but Ilara asked for privacy. She did not want public attention. She had come to say goodbye to her mother, not to make speeches or hold meetings. Fallon stood near the balcony, watching the city from above. His sharp eyes noticed everything. His posture was relaxed, but his mind stayed alert. He could sense Ilara's thoughts without her speaking. She sat at the table, looking at a small photo of her mother holding her as a baby. She believed in kindness, Ilara said softly. Even when it hurt her, Fallon nodded. She believed in you. Ilara looked up. She never gave up on Leora either. I used to think that was foolish. But now I wonder if she was just stronger than me. Fallon walked over and placed a hand on her shoulder. Kindness is not weakness. And walking away is not giving up. You made a choice to grow. That takes strength too. A soft chime came from the door. A young officer entered and gave a polite bow. Director Ilara, there is a request for you to attend the memorial dinner tonight. Close family only. Ilara raised an eyebrow. Organized by who? Leora Vance. The officer replied. She insists it is her duty to host it in your mother's name. Ilara paused for a moment. Tell her I will attend. Fallon will come with me. The officer nodded and left. Later that evening, Ilara dressed in a formal black gown. It had no jewels or shine, just clean lines and quiet elegance. Fallon wore a traditional diplomatic suit with no medals or rank signs. Together, they walked into the hall where the gathering was held. The room was filled with warm light, soft music, and family faces. A large photo of Lydia Vance stood near the center. People were talking quietly, sharing memories, and offering comfort. When Ilara entered, the room grew still. Heads turned. Some people smiled. Others whispered. Many had seen her name in news across the stars, but never thought she would return. Leora came forward with a practiced smile. She wore a long silver dress and heels. Her makeup was perfect. Her voice smooth. Ilara, I'm so glad you came. Ilara gave a polite nod. This is a nice event. I wanted to do something for her, Leora said. She would have loved this. Fallon stood quietly beside Ilara, watching every face in the room. Leora turned to him. And you must be Fallon. It's an honor to meet you. Fallon gave a small nod. Thank you for welcoming us. The three stood in silence for a moment. Then Leora led them to a table near the center. Kellen was already seated there. He stood as they arrived. He wore a simple black suit and gave a stiff smile. Ilara, he said, you look well. I am, she replied without emotion. Fallon shook his hand politely but said nothing. Dinner was served. People ate and shared stories about Lydia. Some spoke kindly of her cooking. Others talked about how she had helped neighbors during hard times. Ilara listened, her hands folded, her eyes steady. Then one guest, an older aunt, turned to Ilara. You've been gone so long, child. We hardly recognized you. We heard stories, but I always hoped you'd come home someday. Ilara gave a soft smile. Home is not always a place. Sometimes it's people. Sometimes it's peace. The aunt nodded. Your mother was proud of you. Leora shifted in her seat. Her eyes moved from guest to guest. She saw how they listened to Ilara, how they respected her without her trying to impress them. Later, a young cousin asked Ilara a question. "What? Is it like working with aliens? Are they scary?" Ilara smiled. "Not at all. They are different, yes, but many are kind. Some are curious, just like us, and some become our closest friends." The cousin leaned closer. "Is it true you helped stop a war on the edge of the Leary system?" Ilara nodded. "Yes, but it wasn't just me. Many people worked together. Peace takes many hands." Leora watched the child's eyes shine with excitement. She remembered when people used to look at her like that. Now they barely asked her questions. After dinner, people moved around the room, talking in small groups. Ilara stood near the photo of her mother. Fallon stayed by her side. Leora walked over slowly. "She would have been proud," she said. Ela looked at the photo. "She always was, even when I didn't deserve it." Leora took a breath. "You've changed." "So have you," Ilara replied. "I'm not sure for the better," Leora said, looking down. Ilara stayed quiet. Leora looked up. "Can I ask something personal? You can try. Why didn't you try to take him back? Kellen, I mean. You could have fought me. You could have destroyed my name, but you just left." Ilara turned to face her sister. Her voice was calm, because he was never really mine. And if he could be taken, then he was never worth keeping. Leora blinked. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came. "I didn't leave out of weakness," Ilara continued. "I left to find something stronger than betrayal, and I did." Fallon stepped closer. He didn't say anything, but his presence spoke louder than words. Leora looked between them. She felt something strange inside, not anger, not jealousy. Something else, regret. "I made mistakes," she whispered. "We all do," Ilara said. "But some are harder to fix." The guests began to leave. The room grew quiet again. As Ilara and Fallon walked toward the exit, Leora stood still. She watched them go. In that moment, she understood something she had never seen before. Ilara had lost everything once, but she had rebuilt herself far away, not with revenge, but with purpose. And now, even standing among people who once pitied her, she shone brighter than anyone. Leora looked at Kellen. He stood alone, staring at the ground. She had stolen something once, but she had never understood what she had truly lost. Ilara Vance stood by the window of her small apartment in Neo-Chicago. Bright lights flashed outside as aircars passed above the busy city streets. The sky had a soft purple glow from the floating ads and towers that reached high into the clouds. She was dressed simply in a pale blue blouse and dark slacks. Her hands were shaking slightly. Tomorrow was supposed to be her wedding day. Kellen Stroud, her fiancé, was not just any man. He was rich, handsome, and the rising star in Earth's Interstellar Investment Council. People called him a future leader. Ilara had met him during a conference on Mars 2 years ago. He had been kind to her, praised her work, and asked her questions that no one else cared about. Ilara had felt seen for the first time. Her work in the aerospace design sector had always kept her busy. She loved designing colony modules for new planets. It was her dream to one day help lead a mission to another galaxy. But somehow, love had entered her life too. Kellen supported her dreams. Or so she thought. As Ilara watched the sky outside, a message appeared on the screen wall in her room. It was from her younger sister, Liora.el. I opened it. "Hey sis, don't be mad, but I need to tell you something. You'll find out soon anyway." Ilara's heart sank. She opened the next message. It was a photo. Leora and Kellen were standing together in a fancy restaurant. They were holding hands. Leora was wearing Ilara's engagement ring. For a moment, Ilara didn't move. Her breath became short. Her vision blurred. She tried to convince herself. It was a joke or a misunderstanding. But another message appeared. "I know this looks bad," Leora wrote, "but he never loved you. He was just confused. We're in love. He's moving in with me today. I'm sorry you had to find out like this." Ilara dropped the message device. It hit the floor and cracked. She sat down on the edge of her bed and stared at the ground. The world felt quiet. The noise of the city outside faded away. Her hands rested in her lap, cold and still. This was not just about losing a man. It was about losing trust. Her own sister had stolen the person she was going to marry. Kellen had looked her in the eye just yesterday and said he loved her. How could this happen? Ilara did not cry. She had cried too many times before because of Leora's selfishness. Growing up, Leora always wanted to be first. If Ilara got a prize, Leora had to get a bigger one. If Ilara made a friend, Leora would try to steal them too. But this time, it was too much. The next morning, Ilara didn't go to the wedding hall. She didn't call anyone. She packed her few things, deleted her social media accounts, and left Neo-Chicago. No goodbye. No fight. No drama. She took a private shuttle to the outer colonies. She had heard whispers about a secret human project beyond the Mars defense line. A mission to find new planets, new homes, far from Earth's greedy politics. It was called the EDEN Initiative. Only the best scientists and explorers were chosen. Ilara knew she was good enough. She sent an application and included a note that said she had nothing left to lose but everything to give. 2 weeks later, she received a message back. She was accepted. Departure was in 1 week. Ilara boarded the black transport ship with a bag in her hand and fire in her heart. She didn't look back. Not at Earth. Not at Kellen. Not at Leora. The ship rose into space, leaving the blue planet. Behind, through the window, Ilara could see the stars ahead. For the first time in days, she smiled. On the way to the edge of the solar system, she studied maps of uncharted sectors. She trained in zero-gravity labs and learned alien languages. Her mind stayed focused. Her heart remained guarded. The EDEN crew was made up of smart, kind, and strong people. They didn't care about wealth or fame. They cared about progress, unity, discovery. Ilara found peace among them. Years passed. She worked hard. She helped design new cities on distant moons. She led negotiations with alien tribes who had never met humans before. She rose in rank until she became one of the top voices in human expansion. But what surprised her most was love. Real love. It came quietly. His name was Thalon. He was calm, wise, and not fully human. A hybrid born of Earth and the distant planet Corvallis. He didn't care about Ilara's past. He respected her strength. He listened to her dreams. He stood beside her in meetings and stayed up late, helping her finish blueprints. He was not flashy. He was not rich. But he was loyal. And he understood her pain without needing to ask. They married in a quiet ceremony on a green moon under a sky full of stars. No family, no reporters. Just a promise made between two souls who had both been hurt but chose to heal together. Ilara never contacted Leora again. She didn't need to. She had built a new life, far from the shadows of betrayal. But deep in her heart, she knew that one day, the past might find her again. She just didn't expect it to happen at her mother's funeral. 6 years passed like quiet wind across empty stars. While Earth kept growing with its tall towers and faster ships, Ilara Vance lived far away from it all. She was now a respected leader in the EDEN Initiative, a powerful human project in Deep Space. EOS-7 was the name of the planet where she had helped build new homes. Its sky was golden during the day and full of silver rings at night. The people who lived there were not just explorers but builders, thinkers, and dreamers. Ilara had helped design their cities. She had created strong bridges between humans and alien neighbors who once feared outsiders. Now she was known across sectors as Director Ilara Thalin. She had taken the last name of her husband, Commander Thalin, a half-human diplomat from the Corvallis system. He was calm, tall, and wise, with silver eyes and a deep voice. Thalin worked with peace councils, handled trade between alien species, and led missions with care and courage. Together, they were one of the most trusted pairs in the galaxy. Ilara had not thought about Earth much. She stayed focused on her work. She had students under her guidance, young minds learning about planetary systems and diplomacy. She traveled from moon to moon, sharing ideas, building trust, and growing human respect across the stars. But peace was broken the day she received the message. A private signal came from Earth's inner circle. The note was short and cold. Your mother, Lydia Vance, passed away peacefully this morning. Funeral will be held in Neo-Chicago in 5 days. Ilara sat still after reading it. She looked out the window of her office. EO7's sky was calm. Birds flew past the tower top. Her mother had always been kind, soft-spoken, and full of hope. Even when Ilara had left Earth, her mother had sent messages, though Ilara never replied. She had kept all of them stored in her data chest, unread but never deleted. She closed her eyes and took a breath. She could not ignore this. That evening, she spoke with Thalin in their home. He stood in the garden, trimming the vines that grew over the blue stone walls. She walked up to him slowly and placed the message chip in his hand. He read it. Then he looked into her eyes. "You want to go back," he said softly. Ilara nodded. Thalin did not ask more. He placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Then we go together." 5 days later, a dark diplomatic shuttle landed at Earth's central port. The ship bore the mark of the United Frontier Alliance. Soldiers stood in salute as Ilara and Thalin stepped out. Reporters tried to take photos, but guards held them back. The couple was not here for news. They were here to honor a mother. Ilara wore a simple black dress. Her face showed no makeup. Her eyes were tired but strong. Thalin wore his diplomatic suit, long and dark, with silver threads that shimmered under the Earth-sun dot. They entered Neo-Chicago quietly. The funeral was held in a glass chapel near the city gardens. Flowers from Earth and other planets were placed at the front. Lydia Vance's picture stood beside them. She looked peaceful in the image, smiling gently as she had always done. Ilara stood beside the casket with her head bowed. She did not cry. She had cried enough long ago. But in her heart, she whispered thank you to the woman who never stopped believing in her. Guests arrived in small groups. Some were old neighbors, some were people Ilara did not know. Then, the main doors opened again. Liara walked in. Her hair was curled perfectly. She wore a deep green suit and high heels that clicked on the floor. She moved as if she owned the room. Beside her walked Kellen Stroud. He looked thinner than before. His eyes were tired. His clothes were clean but plain. No glow of power remained in him. Ilara turned slowly to look at them. Liara froze in place. Her eyes locked on the man beside Ilara. Thalin stood calmly, his tall form silent but powerful. His silver eyes met Liara's with no emotion. He had never met her, but he could feel her shock. Liara's lips parted slightly. She had seen Thalin once before on a broadcast. At that time, she and Kellen had tried to sell trade rights to a Corvallis envoy. They had failed. Liara had laughed when she heard the alien official had walked out without a word. Now she knew why Thalin had been that official. Kellen looked confused. He stepped forward and gave a small nod. "Ilara," he said. She nodded back without a smile. Liara tried to speak, but her throat felt dry. Ilara said nothing. She turned back to her mother's photo. The funeral continued. A speaker shared kind words about Lydia. Songs were played. Memories were shared. But tension sat heavy in the room. After the ceremony, people left quietly. Ilara and Thalin stayed last. Liara approached them. Ilara, she said in a quiet voice, I didn't know you'd come. I did, Ilara replied without turning. That's your husband? Leora asked slowly. Yes, said Ilara. He's not fully human. He's more human than most I've known, said Ilara. Leora looked down. Kellen stayed behind her. Ilara, he said, I've made mistakes. Ilara looked at him for a moment. I know, she said. Then she walked past them with Fallon beside her. No hate, no anger. Just calm strength. Leora watched her go. In that moment, she felt small. Not because of Ilara's clothes or her husband, but because Ilara had become something greater, something untouchable, without ever needing revenge. Liora turned to Kellen. His eyes were filled with regret. They both knew what they had lost.